Hey my crafty critters, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Cami Ewalt, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to take actual sawdust just out of like my husband's wood shop and encase it into a cup and then do this super cute wood grain technique on top of it. I am calling this a man decane for the holidays. I told my husband that I'm sure that men wouldn't be jacked about the name, but that women would probably appreciate it. So if you are here for that kind of a tutorial, let's get into it. We're going to start out with a 20-ounce skinny straight from Maker Flow Crafts that I have sanded, washed, and dried and painted this straw flower from Rust-Oleum. I then mixed up 5 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy, and I only used probably about 2 milliliters, a little bit more than regular glitter, but not so much that it's like sopping through. So then I just truly sprinkled it on just like I would like chunky glitter or something like that, and make sure that I have a good full coverage all over the cup. And then I took and put some sawdust down on this butcher paper, quite a bit of it, and then I laid the cup down kind of in the middle and used the parchment paper or the butcher paper, to squish the sawdust onto the cup and try to make it lay flat, kind of like you would for chunky glitter adhesion over the epoxy method. And then I just let that set up and cure for about an hour. After that, I took it outside and really sprayed it down with clear spray paint from Rust-Oleum 3 times. And I'm talking healthy coats, not like dripping off, but really healthy coats. And then I brought it in and just for extra insurance, put a good healthy dose of this polyacrylic all over it. What this is going to do is really seal it in to make sure that all of this sawdust doesn't sop up a bazillion gallons of epoxy and 1, make it heavy, and 2, waste your epoxy. I then mixed up 30 milliliters of Artistry Epoxy, and as you can see here, it is still rough. I wound up ripping my glove, didn't notice it on the first tear, but noticed it on the second one, so I had to pause, go off and wash my hands, and then come back, re-glove up, and finish this. Thankfully, I wasn't using fast set, or it would have been a done deal. But I then just tried to be careful as you're gliding along this, and I then let that cure for 5 hours, came back in with another coat of 30 milliliters of epoxy, let that cure for 8 hours, and it did need 1 more. So I did come back in and again let that cure for 8 hours. I went and sanded the rim, sanded off any like rough spots, and then this is just some cheap vinyl that I have that I don't use this color for anything other than like these peekaboos or anything like that. And this file, you guys, is gonna be in my website. So if you guys want to grab this for a cup for your own man, it'll be there. So I just, like any other decal, put it on and peel the transfer tape back on itself. And then with the stripes, I knew I wanted to kind of go along above and below the decal. So I just kind of laid it down without like really pushing it on, and kind of just peeled off that extra where it went over the decal. I hope that makes sense. I then move on and do the little stripes on either side of this one big stripe in the same exact fashion. I continue around the cup in the same way I first laid down one of the thick stripes, and at first I didn't really measure, and then I was like, I want to have kind of even spacing, at least between the bottom and the top of each stripe. So that's what I did. I measured it just with that seamstress tape, and again, laid down a big stripe and then 2 little stripes, one on either side, all around the cup. I then took my craft knife and just right where that sawdust met the stainless steel that we sanded off for the final layer of epoxy and cut the stripes off there, and moved into cutting a line around the bottom with my Cami vinyl cutter. Oh my gosh, this vinyl cutter is amazing, you guys. It's got a thicker blade, or like a wider blade, so it cuts a little bit more, and I like the angle of it to where it kind of cradles that cup so you're not chasing it around the razor blade the whole time. Once I get this done, I take it outside and I spray it with white flat Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm then gonna let that dry and come right back in with starting with these 3 brown colors from Tim Holtz. The first one I'm using here is called Sepia. And then I'm going to go through, and with this makeup brush, I'm just putting on a line of the alcohol ink and going through and just with my makeup brush going in the same direction until it kind of feels dry. Once you guys try this, you will definitely get what I'm talking about there. And it doesn't matter if you get like full coverage on this first coat, because we are going to go through with the other 2 colors. So even over that, where that decal is and the stripes are, you just work your way around the cup. And then I come back in with a second color. I don't worry about letting it like completely dry or anything like that. But the second color I wind up using is teak wood. And the reason I do different colors is just to give it some depth and variance. Because, I mean, wood is not all the same color straight across the board, right? So that's why I do what I do. So after I get done with the teak wood, and I don't really go as heavy with the teak wood as I did with the sepia, it's just kind of a filler and to kind of break up that other color really. And the third color I use is espresso, which is the darkest brown that I personally have. I'm not sure if it's Tim Holtz's darkest brown, and I again don't worry about like getting this in every spot on the cup. It is again just a filler and to break up the other 2 colors. Once I get this final color all done, I set it up on my drying rack for 24 hours. You could even go longer if you wanted to. I don't have to seal it because I know for a fact that ink is completely dry. I think that's where people get in trouble, is they try to spray seal it either too soon or they spray it too close or whatnot, and it just winds up ruining the alcohol ink. So once that's completely dry, I then move into the long and tedious task of getting all of this vinyl off without scratching your alcohol ink. So I am just using a little pair of tweezers. I'll link them below. And then for the letters, I use just my old Cricut weeding tool, and I start off by just trying to get under the edge of the letter, but towards the end, I wind up actually like puncturing a hole in the center of the vinyl letter, like one side of the letter or something like that. And it kind of helped to break the seal and pull it off without the potential of scratching the side. But if you do scratch the side, it's not that big of a deal as long as you don't have like a ginormous run. And even then, I think you could probably fix it. I just take a little brush and dip it in just a little cup of 91% alcohol, and I go with the grain. So the grain is kind of up and down. We've established that wood grain up and down. So then I take the little brush and I'm going to go up and down over whatever little scratch or imperfection that I have in the alcohol ink. And that allows me to kind of blend it in with the rest of the surrounding alcohol ink. I hope that makes sense. I then just kind of go back and forth between taking some of the vinyl off and cleaning up around anywhere that I've gotten like a little run or smudge or something like that. And when you're dipping your brush into that alcohol ink, you want to make sure that you dab off as much as you can. You don't want to flood alcohol onto your alcohol ink. It'll wind up ruining your project. So just a word of wisdom there. So like I said, just continue on, take off all this vinyl, and then I just move right into epoxy. I don't seal this. I don't let it set. We've already let it set and dry for 24 hours. So this is as dry as it's going to get, I feel. So I then mix up 30 milliliters of Artistry epoxy, and I put that on like any other epoxy. I then let that spin for 5 hours, come back in with another coat of about 25 milliliters of epoxy, and you guys, look how cute this is. That sawdust actually looks like it's inlaid in there. It almost looks 3D when you see it in person. And my sister had said she wanted this, but my husband actually claimed it. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.